Yo guys, what is up? Mike's on our first Descendant video, and today we're going over my updated guide to Viessa. Now, if you haven't been keeping up with the game or haven't played Viessa in a while, Viessa has received some genuinely massive buffs and is now one of the strongest skill damage descendants in the entire game. She has absolutely absurd amounts of AoE damage and single target damage. She doesn't clear in an AoE as fast as your bunnies or your Innises, but in terms of her damage, her DPS is genuinely wild. So we'll be breaking down everything you need to know about her updated guides with the new Arche Tuning boards, Mutant cells, and everything else. Hope you guys enjoy the breakdown. Let's get right into it. So the first thing to mention is Viessa's Transcendent module, Absolute Zero. Now, prior to Viessa's buffs, I had a bunch of builds for Viessa's different Transcendent modules. We were using Cold Snap Watch, Cold Bloodedness, Hypothermia, Absolute Zero, and with the more recent buffs of Viessa, we're mainly just going to be talking about Absolute Zero today because that is just, her best mod. It used to be that Cold Bloodedness was her best bossing mod, and then Absolute Zero is her best mobbing mod. With the new Arche Tuning boards, you're able to get the same kind of cooldown that you could have with Cold Bloodedness, and that allows Absolute Zero to be just completely dominant, in my opinion, over her Transcendent modules. If you're not aware, one of the best things that Absolute Zero does for Viessa is it puts all of her skills on singular, so they become incredibly easy to scale. All of them are going to be getting all of your boosts from your Reactor, from your mods, which in of itself is incredibly potent, but it also just gives her a ton of damage as well. And the skill critical hit rate is massive. She gets plus 20 base skill critical hit rate, which allows her to reach easily 100% critical hit rate without even using all of the crit mods. And so that's why Absolute Zero is incredible. The only downside of this was typically not having the cooldown from Cold Bloodedness, but the new Arche Tuning boards just easily overwrite that. And so yeah, Absolute Zero is what we're going to be using for just about everything here. So let's go over her mods. We're going to kind of go through them one by one because there's a small tweak that you can do depending on the content that you're going to be playing, but it's super easy to tweak. And so she's very, very flexible. She could do all of the content with just Absolute Zero. But to start, obviously, we're going to be putting on HP, survivability. Do not skip on HP in this game. You can't do any damage if you are dead. The next thing we're going to be using is Focus on Chill. Focus on Chill gives us more damage for her abilities and also some cooldown. Viessa is one of the most skill spammy skill casters, so we're going to be prioritizing a lot of cooldown on her in order to be able to use up her abilities all the time. When I'm playing Viessa, I don't want to have to ever shoot my gun, genuinely, and so that's going to be kind of the goal with this build. Next, we're going to start building into crit. Her base crit is solid, plus Absolute Zero's crit is massive for her. And with this, we're going to be using Skill Insight and Skill Concentration to get our base crit rate up and our damage up. And then we're going to be throwing on front lines. Now, we are not going to be using emergency measures. Without emergency measures on the Arche Tuning board, she gets to about 97% critical hit chance. So this is not needed. It is a bit of a damage bump. So for the damage, it's nice, but the actual crit rate on this is definitely not needed. You can put this on, but I'll be talking about why I'm not using this in just a bit. Next up, in terms of skill spam, we absolutely need cooldown. So we're going to be rocking Nimble, and then our good old friend MP Conversion for even more cooldown. And now we've got the main base of what we're going to be doing. Viessa, ranged caster. We're going to need some ranged on her. And then here is where things get a little bit more up to how you want to play. This is where I think she becomes, a bit more customizable. So there's a few things that we can put on her. The first thing that we're going to be throwing on is Focus on Singular. Now, Singular is, on a lot of characters, needed, throwing on 2 focus mods or a modifier mod. It's not really needed on Viessa. The reason for this is because Viessa's has a ton of modifier value already. Her 4 is 1,500 on its continuous damage. The 3 is 3,000. The 1 is 997. The 2 does benefit from it, but if you're wondering what I mean by that, basically, if we go to our calculator, I'll show those calculations in a second. But like, for example, if we're going with like let's just do the 1. Like the 1 is like 990 damage plus 68. That goes us to 1,058 over 990. So it's basically a 6% damage increase from this mod. So focus on singular is not something we're using for the damage. We are going to be using it for the cooldown, however. We want to have 100% uptime on all of our abilities, and that is actually what we're able to achieve with this. What we're able to get is 6-second cooldown on our 4 with a 6-second duration. This means that we have 100% uptime on her 4, which is arguably her best ability. This is ridiculous. We have 0 cooldown on her 1. Just to show you this. Look at this. There is no cooldown on the 1. You can just spam it like a shotgun. Now, the last mod is where we need to get some quality of life. We've got basically all of the damage that we need, and depending on the activity you're running, you can do a few different things. If you're running like trash tier mobbing content, like 400% dungeons, or just like open world activities, MP Collector is really nice here. It's going to allow you to sustain all of your skill spamming, and so that's what I would rock for like specifically, open world easy content. For Void Erosion Purge, this is going to be a little bit awkward with the timestamps on the YouTube video, but for Void Erosion Purge, MP Collector, the one thing that this doesn't help you with is with the boss, and that's where you're going to actually end up running out of mana. So for the boss, or Void Erosion, I like running Maximize Conservation. This comes with a negative 20% modifier, which, as we kind of just went over, losing modifier on her and gaining modifier really doesn't do all that much. So it's pretty much 35% reduced cost of our skills. This is going to allow us to spam more on the boss and allow you to use your abilities without having to worry about your mana. So I really like this. And then the last thing that you can do is if you're going to go fight a boss, with absolute 0, you can throw Dangerous Ambush on here. And that's basically kind of the builds that you can rock. You could technically get rid of Focus on Singular for like emergency there. But that's kind of the flexibility of her. We've got, Dangerous Ambush if you want to go do bossing, MP Collector if you want to do trash tier mobbing, 400% dungeons, and then Void Erosion Purge. You basically just throw on our Maximize Conservation, and she's very easy to play and very, very powerful. Next up for weapons, Viessa has a few weapons that are interesting with her. You've got, your Frost Watcher, you've got the Blue Beetle, you've got the Clairvoyance. All of them are interesting, but a lot of them require you to do something with them, which we are not going to be doing. We're just going to be spamming our skills for the most part. I will say the Clairvoyance is nice to have as an option on harder enemies to pull out to strip some resistances, but it's not like, what I'm using on her most of the time. The Blue Beetle is nice because it gives you the status effect Purification. Unfortunately, with the Blue Beetle, it doesn't roll as many talents or core slots to have mobility. So most of the time, I'm just honestly holding the Secret Garden on her. Secret Garden, while it's not really giving her any real benefits because we're not using dimension or tech skills, it does roll 3 mobility mods, so we can get double sprint speed and grappling hook recharge time. This, with the Secret Garden, allows you to stay up in the air 100% of the time. So like we can, double jump here and then grapple with just 1 grapple core and the 2 sprint speed cores plus her absolute 0. Road is going to give us a lot of mobility and a lot of speed, and we're going to want all of that speed and mobility to keep up with, like, if you're playing with a bunny or you're playing with an Inez, getting all of that grappling hook recharge and that sprint speed is super, super nice. So that's mainly what I'm using for most content is the Secret Garden, and then you could throw on the Clairvoyance to like debuff bosses. For her reactor, the god tier reactor is going to be skill critical hit damage with skill cooldown. If you're just focusing on bosses with her, I'd go crit damage, damage to Colossus, and then you want a chill singular reactor. That's going to be what you're aiming for. Once again, with Absolute Zero, every single skill is singular. So that is really, really nice. And she gets basically 100% crit damage. So easy reactor on that. For the external components, this is where it gets a little bit more dicey. I'm going to be honest. I think you could use a lot of different components on her. She has a lot of options. In this game, skill cooldown is like multiplicative with each other. So the more sources of cooldown that you get, the more value that they keep adding. And so, like, for example, we're using 2-piece Hunter set that gets us to that perfect 100% uptime of the 4. If we, for example, took off the 4-piece Hunter set, even though it's only 4% cooldown, our 4th ability goes up almost 2 seconds from just 4% cooldown. And so we're going to be rocking 2-piece Hunter set. That's going to give us the cooldown that we need to get to 100% uptime on her 4. You could rock any 2 pieces of Hunter. You just want to make sure that you're rocking the processor for the Hunter set because that's the only one that rolls with HP. And then for the rest of the components, you do have a few options. You could go 2-piece Firebrand for more range and duration. The Firebrand sensor will give you 1 extra tick of the 4th ability, which is pretty nice. The range doesn't really matter, but the extra duration is nice. The Annihilation set does the same thing, but without the range. We're going to be using the Plague set just because it gives you the singular skill power, which is very nice. Singular skill power here is better because we already have a lot of chill skill power. That is a bucket that is very full with her right now versus we don't really have any singular skill power besides from like our reactor. And so that's what we're rocking the Plague set. And the Plague set also rolls every single piece with HP, so we get a lot of survivability from it as well. Now for the Arche Tuning board, I'm going to be honest with you, I kind of messed up. And that's kind of why I wanted to explain how I would change this. Now, the actual like board and the pathing here, I wouldn't change. This allows us to pick up her skill critical hit rate and skill critical hit damage, which these are much more valuable than the enhanced skill power of this flat damage. Just these technically give more damage than this would. So that's why we're not going for this skill power and prioritizing the crit rate and the damage. We get the range multiplier, which is so valuable on her. More skill cost, more skill power, cooldown, which is super valuable, more skill power. And then the mutant cell, I picked chill cohesion. This is technically wrong. So chill cohesion gives us a lot of damage. It stacks up chill skill power. However, it has a 50% trigger rate, and in order to get the value out of this, we need stacks. And not going to go through the whole thing, but there is another consumable that is called Frostbite Vulnerability. When attacking enemies inflicted with Frostbite, applies additional skill power. This is 9.5% skill power. The other one gives like 19.5 chill skill power. However, with Viessa, our like skill power bucket is basically empty. As you can see, our like base skill power boost ratio is 0.054, which is pretty small. That's because we don't have, you know, like a power increase like this. We're not getting a lot of skill power. And so her Arche Tuning board, if you do the math between the higher value of chill skill power, which we already have a lot of, versus the skill power, which we have almost 0 of, they actually equal about the same. And so the math here is, this is our skill damage. This is our chill multiplier plus our like 19% increase from our cohesion plus 0.2 from our reactor. And then this is our skill power times our 1.77 times our power from our reactor. And then this is adding a new bucket that we're basically not getting from the skill power. And as you can see, they're basically even. Going cohesion is technically 0.001% stronger than going for, you know, skill power or the frostbite vulnerability. However, it'll be up on bosses. It'll be up in single targets. And so I think it's just a better choice. Long-winded explanation. Just say go to Frostbite vulnerability. Don't pick Chill Cohesion. It's not that big of a deal. They're basically the same damage, but one will be active on bosses and one will not be. For her Inversion Reinforcements, I rock... Well, a lot of the times I go for this circulation tactic for the extra cooldown. This is obviously not needed on her. We have 100% cooldown on all of her abilities. So we're going to be rocking Probabilistic Recovery System. This is awesome. I love this thing. It just gives us a chance to get more HP and MP whenever we're picking up orbs, which is all the time. I personally rock Biodensity Augmentation to get stacking up more HP. HP is our primary source of survivability, that and freezing enemies. So this is pretty nice. And then lastly, Adrenaline Rush for more movement speed. And then grab all of these bonuses for like the more range and skill power and such. Guys, that's going to do it for the build guide. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know what character you want to see next. I will catch y'all in the next one. Take care. Bye.